what we see here is the biggest growth rate over 2020 has come from other Europe, which is primarily driven by Turkey and the African region, which was basically due to the hit from the COVID in 2020. Similarly, if you look at the global steel consumption, so what I've done is I've taken the short-range outlook released by the World Steel Association, which basically shows the apparent steel usage of finished steel products for the current year and the next 2 years. So I'm sorry, the last year, current year, and the next year forecast across various regions, which is shown in this graph here. And what's interesting to note is the apparent steel usage of world finished steel expected to increase to 1.735 billion metric tons in 2021. And China's share, surprisingly, has actually reduced. China's share of apparent steel usage has reduced 1 percentage point from 56 to 55%, but still it's huge if you look at it as a percentage of the global steel consumption. And again, if you break down that across various regions, what we see here is the global apparent steel usage shrunk by 0.2% in 2020 due to the initial shock of the pandemic, but subsequently recovered towards the end of 2020 and well into 2021 with an increase of 5.8% to reach 1.74 billion metric tons in the year 2021. And it's forecasted to grow another 2.7% to reach 1.924 billion metric tons in the next year. So moving on, if you look at what really drives the steel demand or what has driven the steel demand in the last 5 or 6 decades, in this graph here, I plotted the population growth rate in the last 5-6 decades against the crude steel production. And what's interesting to note is there is an 89% statistical correlation between the two. What it means is 89% of the steel growth rate can be explained with the population growth.
Now we move a little bit about the supply side, and let's try to, represent it in a little bit different way. So we can see that for the iron production in the upstream, there is a growth in the production figures for the first 7 months of this year. So 7% increase in the blast furnace production and 99% increase in the DRI production. The region also showed some growth, not the same like, the world average. I mean, the DRI production in the region increased by 11%. Egypt was a little bit exception, and we don't see a growth in the DRI production, so produced like 3 million tons, at the same like 7 months of last year. But when it comes to the crude steel production, I would say that the region ramped up more production levels. I mean, not the same like the iron production, because we see that the average growth rate in the region is similar to the average growth rate worldwide. Average growth rate worldwide is 12.6%, and in this region, 10.6%. While in case of Egypt, Egypt surpassed this average growth rate and achieving 24% growth from 4.7 million ton to 5.8 million ton. However, unfortunately, I mean, this very nice increase in the production and all production rates might not still be enough, because if we look at the region installed capacity, they are really huge. I mean, the region installed capacity, excluding Iran, is 61 million ton for the crude steel production, while the region produced only 29 million ton in last year. That means that the utilization is only 50 or even below 50%. Same goes for the iron production. The iron production installed capacity in the region, excluding Iran, is around 14.5 million ton. Is around 33.7 million ton, while the production was only 14.5 million ton and the utilization of 44%. So this is really a challenge.
And yes, the idea behind not just the Big Five, but all the major initiatives, the fiscal measures, and all the new projects that are being announced by the government, the idea is to boost demand. And construction is a big part of especially the Dubai economy, because Abu Dhabi has a lot of oil, whereas Dubai is more diversified. And construction is definitely a big part of that economy. And yes, all the new announcements and all the new projects and all the measures that they announce are part of the initiative to boost demand and part of the 2030 initiative as well. So the simple answer to your question is yes, that should increase overall demand for all construction products, including steel.
Let me tell you that from a global perspective point of view, first of all, there is, I would say that less link between the finished products and, for example, the iron ore prices. We have seen that the iron ore prices dropped from levels of more than 230 levels to $93. But it's mainly driven by the Chinese cutting the production and then reducing the demand on the iron ore fines. However, when it comes to the scrap, for example, we see that the scrap is really holding. And if you look at the scrap drop, it's barely like 10 to 15% from the highest level close to 520. Now it's at 440, the 80-20, So it's a big difference between what happened with the scrap and what happened with the iron ore. Then the semi-finished products and finished products are more likely to follow or to link with the scrap more, not with the iron ore. Because if you look at China, for example, they are importing billets. I mean, in the past few days, they imported like 1 million ton, or having contracts to import 1 million ton. So there is a demand on the semi-finished and finished products. Now the challenge is that for normal people who are, with one way or another, they are following the steel industry, they are also seeing that the iron ore is being dropped, and they are asking themselves why the finished products are not dropping the same. This is, I would say, is making a certain challenge for people who are making buying decision. If we put ourselves in their shoes, we can understand that why they are a little bit reluctant. But the truth is that I don't feel there will be a big, change on the finished products, especially on the long perspective. I mean, with the flat, we have seen some, drop on the flat because the flat went to very high levels, supported by the demand for sure. But when it comes to the long, you see that the rebars, for example, in Turkey is around 670 or even below 670 FOB level. So it's really not too high at a scrap of 440. It's not too high at all.